You're listening to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast.
This makes my nipples hard.
Hey there, welcome to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast. Today on the show, Paul and I are going to be doing another comparison episode between Leisure Suit Larry, EGA, and VGA, because I said I'd get it right this time, right?
Yes. Yes. And for the audience, Anna is sober, even though she just says Larry.
I spent too much time at Lefty's before the episode to prepare and to get into character that I am getting drunk, I guess.
And that confirms that we're actually doing a one-take intro this week. What a treat. This is great. Quick, keep it going. Let's not fuck this up. I jinxed us.
Oh, go. So yeah, we did these comparison type episodes before. We did one for Police Quest. We sort of did one for King's Quest, but technically we haven't. And I think in the future, we're going to maybe go back and revisit that in some way. But the point is, we're doing that here. And these are comparisons of Leisure Suit Larry. And if you don't know, Leisure Suit Larry is a game about an affable guy with the indiscriminate age of between 28 and 40, depending on which version you play. And he's left his nest and is out into the world to gamble and get laid and try not to die in a bathroom. Mm-hmm. Is that about the storyline?
Yes, or by his own hand, which we'll get into later. But yes, we're gonna look at the AGI version, the SCI version. AGI is the EGA, SCI is the VGA. Mm-hmm. We got all the acronyms here. I think we said that in the Police Quest one. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. And we'll probably sprinkle in a dash of Reloaded too, because we both played most of that, kind of like in a Hail Mary bum rush. Anna this morning and me last night, just so we could sort of include it. But yeah. Okay, well, let's start with, because I'm not sure if on this podcast we've ever actually covered Larry. If we have, it's been years. By the way, we started doing this in 2018, and according to the math, that was 6 years ago, which is wild.
No, 2018 was not 6 years ago.
Yeah, it's all just insane. Math is so depressing. I'm so sorry. Don't ever do math. It's always bad news. Math is almost always bad news. But anyway, I'm not really sure if we've done Larry before, so I also want to kind of treat this episode a little bit. I don't know. There's things about Leisure Suit Larry that are almost assumed knowledge because it's like, it's one of Sierra's flagships. And I guess what I'm saying is that we'll probably end up spitting some generic Larry facts at you just because we've never really covered Larry before. So this is like our time to do that too. So with that being said, what's your origin story with Larry? Let's start with our childhood experiences. Everybody's got that little tee-hee. I played this at a friend's house and then mom said I couldn't play with Timmy anymore.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. For me, I was a few months into playing.
Sorry,
it was totally Timmy. It's always Timmy. I was into King's Quest 4, and I was like 9 or 10 years old, and my dad brought me this game in the box and said, "Hey, why don't you give it a go? It looks funny." I don't even think he played it yet, and I'm like, I don't know how to answer these questions, and he wasn't around. So what I did was I started the game. And I wrote down the question, and I wrote, he wasn't around. Well,
he gave me the box and then headed off to get some milk, and that was.
He did. He came back later. He'll come back in the story. But so what I did was I started the game and I answered the question wrong, and I wrote down what the question was, and I wrote down my wrong answer. And if I got a right answer, I wrote it down, and I just made a little chart of what all the wrong answers were, and then eventually what all the right answers were. So every time I played, I just referred to my little piece of paper, and even my dad might have helped me, who knows, on something here and there. But that was essentially what I put together. And then I played it. My dad thought it was funny. He'd say things like, "You gonna go sleep with the hooker?" or "Watch out for dogs peeing on you." Like, we didn't, in my family, nothing like, my mom didn't pay attention, and I was never not allowed things like that. So if it was funny and it was Sierra, it was perfectly okay. So that was my experience with Larry.
That's a remarkable amount of motivation and drive for you to, like, what was the drive behind you wanting to play the game that bad to where you created like a whole process of elimination deduction chart to get into it?
The sense of humor. And it was something to do with sex. I knew there was nudity. I was like, boobies and like, all of this, the perverted and funny. King's Quest was so like earnest and true and right and almost sweet. And so this was like, I'd never seen anything like this before. And from this, like this led to my love of Space Quest and why the humor of Space Quest 4 hit me so quickly, so hard. It was just this, it was like off. It was a little bit wrong. It was naughty and I liked it.
Right. That was long for boobs. I get it. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know if I actually, I don't remember playing the first Larry. I know that my dad was really into them, and I know that my mom used to you know, I don't know, rib him for it. And there's always like, it was the one game that she was always aware of. Like, is he in there playing Larry? Like a lot of like teasing and lighthearted, good natured teasing, let's say. And I knew that he liked it a lot. And I remember playing 5 and 7 as a kid, but I don't remember playing the other ones as a kid. I don't think I did, but I did revisit Larry. I don't know. It was one of like the first games I played when I was like getting back into it, let's say probably like 13 or 14 or something, 2013 or 14, something like that, was my first experience with it. But I don't know, at the same time, I still have like weird nostalgia for it because I definitely saw it being played as a kid, let's say. So I witnessed it being played probably by my older brother. Because just seeing like the screen in the original version of Lefties, it's like that hits me in the childhood. I know I saw that as a kid. It's not just the Mark Crow-ness of it, because there is like a delightfully, I don't know, there's like a Police Quest vibe going on in this game quite a bit. It almost looks like Lost Wages could be Lytton in a sense, or in the same world as Lytton, because it's just, I'm sure that's just the Mark Crow mixed with the EGA palette factor. But anyway, I guess this is long for I don't really actually have like a childhood experience with specifically the first one.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because Al Lowe, he programmed most of it, but obviously Mark Crow contributed a lot of the game. He contributed all the graphics and the actual look of the game and how the interconnected, like the rooms were all interconnected and so forth. But Mark didn't do any like the text or any of the puzzles and the writing. So everything that you see graphically was his contributions to the game, which is really cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, Mark's he's I don't know about underrated, but he's like unsung hero in a sense for maybe I should say instead of that, because he's very much credited and renowned, let's say, for Space Quest, but he was doing so much more than I think I even realized as far as this work on Larry and Police Quest and stuff. But okay, yeah. So anyway, did you play the VGA remake as a kid, or did you revisit that as an adult? What's your history with the remake?
Yeah, I think I played it not long after it came out. I was excited. I was always excited when a remake came out because, you know, a lot of it's essentially the same between the regular and the remake, but they added in more lines. And that was the freedom that Al said when they ended up switching. Although there was less guessing of input on the player's side, there was more ability for the programmers to put hidden messages and things all over the place for you to click on and see. So I'm just like, oh yeah, I want more writing. Like, to me, these were like books. I'm like, I want more books from the same author. So when I'd get a new version of the game, I'd always be stoked for new lines because it was like, oh my God, new content. This is great.
Yeah. And the VGA remake, I really, really liked. It was kind of like Police Quest, where I ended up my conclusion, I guess you could say, which is probably a weird way to, it's a fine way of putting it, but it's early in the episode to be saying it. But regardless, my overall conclusion or takeaway from this comparison is the same as Police Quest, which is the remake is really good and it's beautiful and it's like a lot of fun, and there's just like you were saying, there's some really good like storytelling and a lot of great lines that you can go fetch, and the inclusion of like the zipper and the taste icon is so much fun, and this game just it encapsulates so much of what what I have like a craving for and don't get enough of in modern adventure games, which is like the sense of exploration and the rewards, the constant rewards for exploring, where it's like, it's less about, finishing this game. Because if you really want to just finish it, you can get it done in about 30 minutes, maybe 40 for the remake. But if you really want to get the most out of the game and see all the lines and just, walk around, I don't know, it feels like a living book in a sense, it really comes to life. You can walk around and just try things on people and get responses, or spend too long in an area and get peed on. It's great.
What do you think about the breath spray aspect? There's an aspect in the game that you have to shoot some breath spray in your mouth every once in a while, or else you'll get some funny random comment from somebody saying, "Oh man, you smell like garbage mouth."
Yeah, that was all. That's such a nice touch because it's not like a. It's not presented mechanic wise as like a gun to your head. Like you better have done this or you'll regret it later. It's like there's no real pressure. It's just like a fun little it makes the world feel more alive and more just great world building.
I like to leave my breath stinky and see what everybody says about it because I want to read all the lines.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's such a nice like almost consequence free way of doing it, and just it's a ton of work and love went into this game as well. So it kind of almost reminds me a little bit of it's not fair to say the Conquest because Conquest had just so much more going on, but in the sense of like accounted for scenarios and stuff like that. Like what would this person say versus what would they say if your breath smelled, and then what would happen if you tried to lick them on top of try to touch them, on top of try to look at them, and on top of trying to talk to them. So it's just like just so many lines for everything, and it's fun and funny, so it's worth like exploring all the lines. Love it.
And there's all these like subtle differences between the two that are so small you wouldn't even notice it just in what somebody says in a response but like the essential essence of the game is if you know how to play the text game, you're probably going to know how to play the EGA, and then you're probably going to know how to play the VGA, and that's pretty much your day.
Yeah. There's not much difference at all. For like 20 minutes, I had a YouTube playthrough of the VGA and EGA playing at the same time. I kind of did my best to sync them up on a phone and a tablet. And it was neat. It was kind of fun to see it. It was like almost identical. Every now and then they'd slip time wise. Like I don't know, maybe the balcony would be an example. There's like a little bit extra going on there in the VGA version, but it's pretty damn identical as far as like the linear story is concerned, right? Like if you're not exploring your environment, you're just trying to, if you're playing it, maybe let's say by walkthrough rules, where you're just trying to get to the end of it, they're both almost identical.
I like, what about the concept where you die in Leisure Suit Larry 1 and you can end up back in the factory and get remade again? I think that's the original one. I think that's so fun.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. It's everything we love about the Sierra stuff. The factory, that's still one of my favorite. Really, and Larry 3 also has the behind the scenes Sierra. Like it's I don't know. It reminds me of that scene in Larry 3, or the end of Larry 3, I should say. Behind the scenes at Sierra. And then in the VGA, I think there's two different versions because I see screenshots for a massive factory. It's got like this dystopian kind of feel to it where they whip up another Larry and spit him out of a blender in the VGA remake. But I didn't get that scene when I played it. When I played it, I got brought back to life by Frankenstein. No, you know what? I'm confusing Reloaded. Sorry. In Reloaded, you get brought back to life in a Frankenstein sense.
It's a lot of Larry to take in and keep all separate in your head.
It was too much Larry. Yeah, it was a mouthful of Larry, if I may. That actually doesn't work. I was trying to force it there. Sorry. We're like 20 minutes in. We haven't made a single dick joke yet talking about Larry. It feels wrong, but
thanks for breaking the ice.
Yeah, no worries. I almost did it earlier with the whole peed on thing, but
right.
I didn't want to bring up my time in Amsterdam on the show. It's not necessary.
Reloaded was funny for that. You could pee on everything, the corners, the floor, the people. It'd be like, and it even says it, you whip it out and pee on the carpet. Well, don't you feel good about yourself now? It's so funny.
Yeah, it was. It's really, really good. I wanted to ask you too, since, and then maybe we'll, I don't know, take a breather and find direction here. But real quick, what were your thoughts on Reloaded? Because we've kind of like summarized, I guess you could say, like our experience with EGA and VGA. So what did you feel about Reloaded?
I played it on a tablet first, all the way through a couple of years ago when it first came out, and I thought it was fun because it was different and it was more. There was a lot of writing, there was a lot of nods to Kickstarter and a lot of more modern elements. So they sort of brought it into the age. You could click everything on everything. Your mouth, you're either smelling it or tasting it, and if you click the zipper, you're either peeing on it or trying to have sex with it. There was so much writing and so many lines in it, and it was. But the storyline was the same, but the puzzles were different. So it was a little bit confusing. So I felt it was a very walk-throughable version of the game that was fun to just, I spent so much time taking photos and clicking everything on everything that for me, that's where a lot of the fun was like. And there was all these little bonus side quests that I'll talk about later and fun things you could do that were outside of what you have to do to complete the game that, I don't know, a bunch of devs getting together and kind of making a game in homage of their old game that they made before is a neat notion to me.
Right. Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was really nice. I thought it was gorgeous. I'm a sucker for glowy things, and it had like a very glowy vibe, like the chapel with the sun coming through the light coming through the stained glass windows, and I mean even Lefty's, yeah. I really like the artwork, and that's I really don't like playing games that aren't pixel art because to me it's like the pixel art factor is such a important part of my like enjoyment in these games visually. It's just my thing, like without needing to get too into explaining the whys and why nots. It's just my thing. I just really like it, and there's enough in pixel art to where I don't really have to fuck around with games that aren't. So that being said, for a game that wasn't pixel art, I really liked it. That being said, my son walked by and was watching me play little bits of it here and there, and his only comment on it was that it was ugly. And just in case any of the devs are looking, I disagree. He's 9. All right. But I'm proud of it in the sense that I think I've well indoctrinated him into pixel art because he had no reason to judge it so harshly and with such banality. But he's just like, it's ugly. I'm like, wow, that's uncalled for. I mean, it's really kind of unfair. But yeah, again, I think he's so used to everything that I'm involved with game wise being pixel art that he looked at it. Maybe that was his way of saying something's off. But but anyway, it was nice. There are aspects about it that I guess I have to be honest. It begs certain questions like why.
There's like a few of the puzzles are like that in it because like the whale puzzle, for example, like even my son Jacob was just like, that's pretty harsh.
Right, yes, yeah. And it's like, I guess considering there was a VGA remake, and the VGA remake is gorgeous, man. It's such a good looking game. It's like, artistically speaking, it's one of Sierra's finest, because I feel like they get outclassed by LucasArts when it comes to VGA graphics. They're often outclassed, which is like fair enough. The LucasArts guys just has such an awesome bendy, cartoony looking style, and I felt like whenever Sierra tried to go bendy and cartoony, it didn't look great to me. But this looks amazing, and it's interesting too because like I think we alluded to this before, but like the Space Quest remake, Space Quest 1 remake is in this very similar art style of the Space Quest 4 game. And the remake is very much in the style of Leisure Suit Larry 5. So it's like you can tell what games are being developed alongside each other, let's say, or within the vicinity of each other. Because this game it has a lot of Larry 5 style, but it actually, to me, it looks more like comfortable in its own skin, or like and I don't know the timeline, and I don't expect you to, and we're not going to stop to look it up, but I would guess that I'd be kind of shocked to be wrong on this one. It's like saying I might be wrong, but I don't think I am.
Yeah, I doubt it. And no one's saying anything otherwise right now.
Yeah, exactly. So. But I would say that the remake was done after Larry 5 because it almost looks like a refined, like now we have a grasp on this art style sort of vibe where it's like, yeah, I don't know. It looks really good. It's really beautiful. The rooms look like they took forever to draw. Like each one of them is quite remarkable. Whereas Larry 5 was like a little rough on the eyes at certain points. That game with the Memphis style, if you will.
And there's touches of that here and there, but it doesn't go as deeply into that as into the character design and every other part of it. Like even the characters in 5 were kind of with that pointy, vibey floor of an arcade in the 80s kind of idea.
Yeah, it's almost like the remake, I felt like they knew what to do with the style. Whereas in 5, they were just like, I don't know, just use it because it's hot right now. But in the remake, they incorporated it as opposed to just like, put it on display because that's what the kids are buying right now, sort of thing. But anyway, all that really to say is that Reloaded was really cool. It does baffle me. It's a little strange. Like I don't know. I still don't really get the I mean, there's $655,000 behind its Kickstarter that disagrees with me as far as even beginning to hint at it that nobody asked for it, because they very much did. Over $500,000 worth of asking for it, but it's just it's a little strange in like as far as where does it fit, especially after playing the three of these next to each other. And as we discussed off air, I'll just say now is that Anna and I both kind of burnt out on Reloaded, which is again, it's not Reloaded's fault. It's just because we had both just gone through EGA and VGA and Reloaded, and they're all the same game. Like there's extra bits in Reloaded. There's an extra character in Jasmine, but for the most part, the 90%, the bulk of it is the same exact story and timeline and everything like that. So it's like for both of us having played it in that sense, it was just like, whew, we're doing this again, huh? But if you were to play it like on its own, like if you haven't played Larry 1 in a long time, I could see it being a lot of fun, even though for the sake of people listening, I would still probably, if you haven't played VG, I'd point you towards that one. Because I think a lot of the Sierra fans, I think there's like an aversion to these remakes. Like they didn't sell well at the time. They're not really regarded highly on like, you know, our the Classic Gamers Go Facebook group. Like whenever it comes up, there's not a lot of like, yes, play that one. There's a lot more reverence for the past and like the parser and things like that, which I get. Like still at the end of the day, it'd still probably be like a parser guy because that's you know, that's what hits me in the nostalgia. But man, the VGA remakes so far were 2 for 2 because I really had a lot of fun with the Police Quest one and the
Me
Larry
too.
one.
I did. And go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna ask you, what's your overall take on the VGA remake?
It was fun and fast. I liked it. It was easy to play because you knew the storyline. It had new information. It was pretty. I'm solid on it. I actually did not mind it at all. I didn't find it dry. I still found it funny. It was a little bit less stressful. It felt a bit safer, right?
Yeah, it definitely felt safer.
Let's run through the story a little bit and kind of talk about the differences along the way.
Yeah, good call. Okay, so you start out outside of Lefty's Bar, where you head into there. Yeah, I don't want to make the mistake of just because I've just done it 3 times to feel like everybody's like intimately aware of this part of the game. But yeah, basically you start outside of the bar. You arrive in Lost Wages with what, $90 some. 94, 97. I really want to get that right. Doesn't matter. You go inside. There's a moose hanging on the wall in either version, but in the VGA version, you go into the other room and discover that there's a whole moose there because the rest of the moose is on the other side. And I love that gag. That's a great gag. the whole body of the moose. So it's like it's not a moose head, but it's like, you know, a moose shoved through the wall. Very good.
And you can interact with it, of course, and everything too. I love the acknowledgement, like the almost fourth wall kind of humor, like always just on the verge of admitting that it's a game. But it's like Reloaded took it a little bit farther and outright talked about how it was a game all the way through a little bit more heavily.
Right, and that might have been, I guess, due to the narrator in a sense. So, you know, that's something that we've been discussing here and there on different episodes, where it's like narration kind of almost lends its hand to fourth walledness. And the narrator, by the way, in Reloaded, I'll just say did an awesome job. The voice actor for the narrator was really, really good. But yeah, anyway, sorry. You're at Lefty's. You walk inside. You basically you get a drink. You get a whiskey. As far as the forward progression of the game is concerned, you get a whiskey. You head into the back room or the bathroom. Find a drunk guy who couldn't handle his stuff. You hook him up. You go into the bathroom. This is where you do your adventure game and pick up your rose and your ring and stuff like that you'll need later. And then you go to basically it's funny to watch this on a walkthrough or on a playthrough, I should say, because people, you know, if you're trying to almost speed run it in a sense, like you do all this work to get into the room with the prostitute and then you open the window and fuck off. Which is kind of funny because you wouldn't have a rubber yet or a lubber in the game. I hate that word, by the way. I don't like lubber. I don't know why. It's always bothered me. Like always. I
think because it's mildly racist sounding in the game.
Is that what it is?
It just comes off as being, I think it's meant to be making fun of the way he says it. But like, that's just, I don't know if this is even true. Like, this game is so mildly or potentially offensive every minute of the way. We're not focused on that because we were younger when we played it and we didn't get offended and we never grew up. So we have the same mindset. So it's really easy. We just don't get offended.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't. And that doesn't mean it's not great. It's just,
actually, I disagree there. You should not get offended. Everybody fucking relax.
Yeah. Thank you.
But yeah, no, there's yeah, I don't know. This show's never been good at it. We don't handle this stuff. We just sidestep right the fuck around all that. I'll just say on a positive spin though, because we try and keep it positive here. Is there's diversity in the VGA remake, because the woman at the end is it's Eve's, right? Eve at the end is switched to a black woman, which is nice, and that's actually for I don't want to say I don't want to overinflate it, but for the time sort of thing. But it was. I guess it was a little surprising to me. So maybe it was a bigger deal for the time. I'm not sure, or maybe it's just because Eve wasn't black in the first one that it was surprising. It could be as simple as that. But it was nice either way, and she's got a little nip slippage that's just delightful. And the VGA remake too, I'll say, is the most racy of the three by far, right? Because there's actual nipples going on in the VGA remake, whereas Reloaded might be the most tame, right? Because there's no skin in that one at all.
Yeah, not unless it's like an Easter egg or something. Like some of them definitely have more than others, and EGA was not sexy, and VGA was sexier for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, EGA had its moments. There was some of the Mark Crow portraits, I guess you could call them, or whatever, the full screens like he does in Police Quest. That were nice, but yeah, okay. So anyway, so you'll go up to the prostitute. If you sleep with her without a condom, you're going to have a bad time. So you bail out the window into the garbage can, and you make your way down to the casino. And then in this case, casino is a verbal baton that I hand to you.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, because I normally go to the store first, because I usually have enough money. And then I like to get the prophylactic from the store, and then the dude at the store, I mean, after you look at the skin mags and everything else, and there's a drunk standing outside, but he's just like, oh, what flavor, what kind? And he asks you all these crazy questions about it, and then you have to answer all of them, and then he shouts out all the kinds you're getting, and then everybody pops out of the aisle and says, what a pervert. And that's slightly different in every version as well. But just like the words, essentially what he says about it were different, and the rest of the context was the same.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Good. You got good comparison notes. You did better than I did. As far as
oh yeah, and then you got to get a bottle of wine, because there's a guy outside, and you can look at everybody and look at everything and talk to everybody, and there's a payphone outside, and throughout the game you can actually find various phone numbers, and there's all these little Easter eggs where you can call in and get Sierra hint line or things like that, and then you got to go and you got to take your rubber back to the hooker. And I love this because if you sleep with her with the rubber off, you get the flashing groin and you die. And if you sleep with her with the prophylactic on, then you don't take it back off, and you go outside and you die anyways, because you didn't take off the condom, which is so funny. Right. But then what you're technically supposed to do is you're supposed to sleep with her, take off the condom, dispose of it, steal the box of candy sitting on the ledge for whatever reason, because you're a dick, and then you go out the window and carry on. Back to you.
Right. It's kind of panic inducing. Sorry. I started this. This gives me a little deer in headlights, oh shit, what are we even talking about? Larry, that's right. No, so you don't have to sleep with her, right? You can just take the. Is that correct? I don't think you have to sleep with the prostitute. Do you? I don't think.
I just never considered, because you're there to lose your virginity. That's the whole reason you're there. What?
You sound so offended right now that I would even
prostitute. I never even considered.
Wow.
That you wouldn't.
This is the closest you've ever came to calling me a Poindexter. Because right now, you're you fucking loser. Are you serious? You didn't.
I never even for a moment considered it, and now I'm just saying.
Look, listen. I wanted it to be special. Okay, I didn't want to give it up to some prostitute. I was saving myself.
That's I gotta actually put some research into that, because I've never thought about it or considered it. It was just sort of a given.
And I framed it like a question, but no, you don't have.
Maybe
to.
She won't let you take the chocolates if you don't sleep with her.
at least in VGA, you don't have to sleep with her. That's my hesitance is because I can't say for certain with EGA. But yeah, you don't have to sleep with her in VGA, which means you probably don't have to. Because if you try to take the chocolates, otherwise he gives her a line like basically she's like, well. I'm rooting for anybody who's in search of true love. Like he gets her on that aspect, and she's like, well, if you're in the pursuit of true love, then you can take them. And he just says thanks, and yeah, you get them.
I'm a little speechless at this.
You sound just mad. I've never heard you so disappointed in me in the time we've known each other. I'm sorry. Okay.
So after you slept with the prostitute, assuming that
you don't have to, guys. Don't feel pressure.
I would. You know what? The one you don't want to feel pressure in is in Reloaded, because that prostitute is. What are you supposed to? I don't know what's politically correct here, but she's not a looker. The girl in the bed that you are supposed to sleep with, all of a sudden she's Russian and she's missing a tooth.
Yeah. Come for make love on prostitute. Yeah.
So bad. You're like, do I have to? Oh no.
Not like
and
this.
The jokes are all based on her looks, right? Oh man. This is why we haven't covered Leisure Suit Larry.
I know, yeah. Sure.
But we've interviewed Al Lowe. So if you think that if you either really like this and want to hear more, go look up that episode. Or if you think this sucks, I just want to hear them talk to Al Lowe, go look up that episode.
Yeah, for that episode was great too. It's like 70% Police Quest, that episode, but there's also the rest is split between Donald Duck and Larry. We tried to give Al a break on the Larry talk, but he does go into some stuff there, of course, and we might be assuming a lot of things on the audience, but I mean, it's like we got a pretty loyal group of listeners here. I think you guys know, he was a high school teacher and he wrote the theme song, and he's a one-man band, and this was a remake of softcore, the soft porn adventure, and just all the generic Larry facts that I think at this point it's almost safe to assume our audience is kind of borderline sick of hearing. So, which is why GPT was of no help to me preparing for this episode, because he just kept hitting me with all that stuff. I'm like, we know. That's all the surface. That's all the first page of Google stuff. GPT. I'll just forget it. Okay.
Has nothing in depth. So you've gone off and you're in the dumpster. And what better thing to do when you're in the dumpster after you jump off the balcony, after you leave the hooker's bedroom, after you sleep with the hooker,
or not,
is you look around and you find a hammer. Obviously,
yeah,
as one would.
I didn't have a problem with the hammer. Like, I feel like everybody gets one in an adventure game. There's people throw hammers out. All the time. Right now, somewhere in Gary, Indiana, home of Michael Jackson, maybe there's somebody throwing a hammer away into a trash can. That almost got wildly off topic for some reason. I don't know why I got so specific there. The point is, people throw away hammers. I have one I need to throw away because the head is, and please be mature about me using the word head during a Larry episode. The head is jiggly. Please remain.
Now you're making it harder, dude.
Oh, why you gotta making it harder?
Oh no!
We can't stop. We're stuck. It's like a positive feedback loop, but
when you're in the game, you've got to travel around and you have to catch a taxi. So you've got this taxi driver who's, I think we were trying to figure out, was like Josh Mandel the taxi driver? And I was asking him that question, or somebody was, but then he doesn't remember doing the lines for the taxi driver or doing the voice. For
that was Laura Bow
remake. But was that Laura Bow?
Because I made you ask him, remember?
That's what it was.
Because he sounds just like Bernie Sanders. And I'm like, that has to be Josh Mandel. Because that is definitely a Jewish man doing that voice. So I sent
he's
you
like, I don't know.
He's like, I don't know. And I was like, wow, Josh, you had one thing to remember for me.
That's right. So this guy, he's a taxi driver. You got to pay him a bunch of your money. And one of the big reasons you actually have to gamble in this game there's a few, but one of the reasons, especially in the first part of the game, is to have enough money so you can catch the taxi around. Because if you catch a taxi and you can't pay the taxi guy is going to beat you up.
Yes, and I kind of already fucked up and missed the window for this, but speaking of Josh Mandel, retroactively speaking of him, he is the voice of the stand-up comedian in Reloaded. And you gotta love Josh, man. I love how he pops up and reprises things like King Graham, and there's something just so right and wholesome about of just hearing that and learning that was Josh, because I didn't recognize the voice necessarily. But anyway, so the poker in this game, to pick up where you were leaving us off there. Okay, I really thought about this, premeditated this little speech or mini rant or whatever, but it's like it's more appropriate in Larry than Police Quest, because my knee-jerk reaction was I'm really sick of like the shoehorning in of the gambling stuff, especially in Alo's creations, because again, he did a lot of the Police Quest game. But it makes sense in Larry just because, like, you're dropped off with only a certain amount of money, and especially the taxi cab system, like, you really need money in this game. You're going to make it and lose it and make it and lose it and, get it stolen off of you and things like that. So at least it kind of makes sense. It's like your way of refilling your assets. And I mean, it's not like it didn't make sense in the Police Quest story either. But it's like, it's almost like a part of this game, because you're going to have to lose and make money in it. And so you do it by gambling because you're in Las Wages, not Vegas. And so, yeah, at least it makes sense. I still hate poker, and I really praised Reloaded for giving you the option to do. Well, it's not just Reload. I guess you have the option to win the money with slots with all of them, huh?
Well, it's, you've got slots, and there's also blackjack in the remake. And it's kind of funny. A few fun facts. Ken Williams wrote most of the code for blackjack in one 10-hour shift. And then he gave it over to Al, because he just kind of did this in this writing frenzy. But it took Al a whole nother week to actually get the code to work properly with kind of the structure that Ken had put together. So he's like, all right. But it's because Al didn't even he did not want to program the slot machine. He's like, Scott Murphy does slot machines, and he's the one that did the slot machine for Space Quest. So I'm going to get a hold of Scott, and he's going to do the slot machine. But Scott's busy, wasn't able to call Al back. And he's like, well, I'm waiting. I'm just going to sit here and program and da-da-da-da-da. So by the time Scott calls him back, well, the slot machine's finished. But, okay, fun fact. In EGA, you could only win a limited number of cash because they were on a limited budget. So they only used a 1-byte variable, and the largest number available was 255. So $250 limit. Of course, in VGA, you can win up to $10,000 because there's no such limit.
Right. So 255 would be the highest in an 8-bit. I don't know if it's integer goes, but yeah, right. Because that's the most that an 8-bit could store would be 255.
Yeah, so that's why you're limited, which is where the original save spamming came from. Because we used to save early, save often, but when this happened, we started save spamming, save scumming, whatever the kids nowadays called it. Because as soon as you win, you save. And then as soon as you lose, you load. And that's where my system to do that, and many of ours, came from.
Right. And I did that last night and Reloaded, and it felt good. It felt nostalgic. It felt right. It felt back in the day. Yeah,
there was a lot of really cool stuff in the casino too. You could go upstairs and you could knock on every single door, and you'd always get a different response. And all of the responses in every single one of the rooms, whether in the original or especially in the remake, but was related to other people that have made the game. Because you're like, oh, Jeff, you really know how to hurt a guy, refers to Jeff Stephenson, who did the creative interpreter work. And Scott Murphy, one of them was, hey, Scott, the girls are here.
Nice.
Or, just, it's super random. And I think there was one that says, now I've got Wessonality, but like, I don't even know what that means. Like, it wasn't even explained in any of the guides that I had, but I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a thing you would say.
It's got the makings for an inside joke, right? Like based on the last name or whatever. I almost wonder, it raises questions too. I almost wonder like why they couldn't literally copy and paste Scott Murphy's slot machine code, right? Because that's what I would do. Like, yeah, like there's things I'm programming in the game I'm making now where I'm like, it's so hard that by the end of it, it's like, well, at least later I can just copy and paste it if I need to in the future. Like, it kind of feels, accomplishment wise good. It's like, well, at least I can reuse this nightmare of a chunk of code or whatever. But yeah, that's kind of curious. Like, why couldn't they literally just copy and paste the Space Quest code?
Well, I should totally go back. Did you know that Al Lowe ended up interviewing the hooker after Larry stole the box of chocolates? And she did say that he was really, really quick. He was clean. He left right away, but he did take my box of chocolates. So,
right.
I mean, she did comment. She didn't not notice. He didn't secretly take it. And in Reloaded, they nod to that. When he goes to take the box of chocolates, he's like, and she's like, no, that's forget it. Just take it and go.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay. Back to where we were in the casino. But yeah, lots of in-jokes, lots of stuff. You've got your save spamming, you've got your gambling, and you're essentially at this point just prepping yourself up to get ready to finish off the game because you have to find something at the casino to get you into a place you can't access yet.
You're not wrong. It's just that wording took me by surprise when you said finish off the game, because there's a part of me that still feels like we're still building up into the start of the game, because it's like, we're just getting the items we need to actually start the game, but it's also getting the items you need to finish the game, because it is really quite short in that sense. So yeah, you go to the casino, you get your money. Anna, you said you kind of already went to the convenience store, but if not, you go back there again, or for the first time. Like, it doesn't matter. You go get your money. You go to the convenience store where you can get some wine, trade the wine for a knife, and this is all building up just to meet Fawn, right? Yeah,
all of this. Yeah, you have to get an apple, obviously, from the barrel man, but that's for way later in the game because he's the naked dude. And then you have to find your way into the disco. So you're able to do that because you've been to the casino and you've gotten the little card out of the ashtray. And
props to Reloaded again for the way they handled the Apple guy, because you give him the uniform, and in the uniform was a blank check, or no, was a check for $655,000 made out to cash, and it was the Kickstarter money. So that was a cute way to tie that all in. That was well handled.
Oh, but fun fact from the EGA version only, if you click on the inside of his barrel, if you look in it, like actually say look inside his barrel on the keyboard, it'll tell you his name is, and you don't get that in any other version of the game.
Interesting. That's cool.
You can also bribe the bouncer with the diamond ring to get into the disco if you want. It will work, and he will let you in, but you will have some problems later on in the game.
Well, is that a dead man walking thing? Because you need that for Fawn, right?
Yeah, you sure do. And he'll just take it and say, thanks, man, and let you in.
Right. Huh. That's interesting. That harkens back to Longbow, where you can give away your half a heart crystal. But it's not Dead Man Walking, because Conquest Longbow was coded by a combination of genius and I think cocaine.
Yeah.
They were mad, absolutely mad, man. Okay, yeah. So you go to the disco, you meet Fawn. She's the worst, as you'll just really quickly find out. You give her gifts. She's a material girl, and so you give her gifts. And she's worth like 10 points practically of like, because you have to give her one thing after another. And then finally she's like, oh, and money and stuff. Oh, this is great. Oh, you want me to dance with you? Oh, okay. Yeah. So. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She's not technically a hooker, but she only does stuff for things in return. So
she's a scam artist is what she is, really, because you end up finding out later, because you're all like hot and heavy, and she's like, she gets a room at the casino and she's like, oh, just go and get some wine, because that wine glass is awfully empty. So you have to go back and get your like booze from the store, and you also have to marry her, obviously, because why would you do any of those things?
Yeah,
if you don't marry her.
Yeah, I was getting hung up on the details playing it too. I'm like, well, what about the divorce? How are they going to handle that? I guess they get an annulment.
Well, he doesn't handle it well, because when he was with Passionate Patty, and then the third one finished, and then the fourth game that happened in an alternative universe happened, and he was kind of still with her when he was philandering around in Larry 5 and 6, but she was hanging out at home while he was doing his work and just kind of holding down the fort, doing online sex work from the cabin that they were living in together.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's some good world building.
It's in interview between her and Larry and Al Lowe in one of the books I have.
Man, that's so good. Just makes me wish like miss that era in general. With that amount of lore, like where people would have given a shit enough, and like a lot of this stuff just doesn't work with the internet. And I only mean that in the sense of like the internet there's just so much content. But it's like back in the day when there just wasn't as much everywhere all the time. Then
because they didn't stay together, they were pretty much separated by Larry 7. So it wasn't going well. They were long times apart, and You get distanced after a while.
Yeah, no, very much so.
And I think he might have been a bit of a philanderer. Like, I'm not even entirely sure that I know he never technically did anything wrong. He wasn't going around cheating on girls. And technically he's the one that got screwed over. But you kind of got to wonder a little bit if in 5 or 6, he did some things he shouldn't have.
Right. Yeah, this all sounds so real. I would like to do an episode on 3 one day. That's my favorite Larry game.
I love 3 so much.
It's one of the best Sierra games, man. The whole SCI zero era, like every SCI Zero game is amazing, except for Iceman. It's always the blot on that. I still have to play
Iceman,
it to really say that, but
I've said it before. Iceman is Leisure Suit Larry 4 without the sexy. It's what I expected when I first started it, that Leisure Suit Larry 4 was going to be, but then it wasn't. It was such a tease that way.
Right. Without the sexy. That's good. Well, all right. So Fawn robs you of all your stuff and leaves you high and dry on the bed. You got to cut yourself out of the bed.
Which they play with at the beginning of Leisure Suit Larry 7, where Larry essentially starts the game tied up in a bed, and you have to try to solve your way out of it. So he's always getting himself into those kinds of situations.
Yeah, it's quite a cold open to Larry 7. Just immediately have to figure something out. That was a little rough.
It was. It wasn't an easy little puzzle too. You're like, I'm just clicking on a page. How many things could there be to do? And then it's like, why did that take me 25 minutes?
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you're finished with the fun chapter of the game, and you basically go down. This is where you meet the receptionist Faith, who's one of the other girls in the games. You try to strike something up with her, and it doesn't really work. That's kind of my short notes.
You essentially end up getting her to screw off when you give her drugs so you can go up the elevator.
Right.
She's like, right. I totally did want to get high. That's great. Oh, thanks. I'm going to go do that now. It's like speed or something. And then she just fucks off over there. You're like, okay, yeah, I'll just use the elevator to the penthouse. That's cool, right? Oh, it doesn't matter that it's like some other chick's room.
Oh my God. And I love how that all fits. It fits with the era so well. And so does the art. And I just want to pause and say this is all to the EGA game. That Mark Roach did such an awesome job of making it look like the era, because it specifically the part that we're coming up on the game now, which is like the hotel suite, but also the hotel. Okay, so over the holidays, Gremlins was on. Is that the movie? Yeah, Gremlins was on. I've never actually properly seen that movie either. It was just, and it was on on mute, and I just kept kind of catching it in the background, and it made me. By the way, Gremlins is probably like the most potent case study of the aesthetic of the era. Like Gremlins encapsulates everything 80s about the 80s. Like from the shoulder pads, it's just so much in one movie. It's like it really covers every damn thing as far as fashion, architecture, and stylistic design. It's all on Gremlins. Like if you ever needed to just a quick study on the aesthetics of a time, that would be the movie. And when I was looking at it in the background, the one thing that came to my mind, a realization, I guess you could say that's maybe generous, was there was so much marble in the 80s. Like there was a lot of marble, just a lot of fucking, if you imagine like the hotel lobbies of like a lot of the 80s movies, like the walls were fucking marble, like just slabs of rock all the time, everywhere. It's really weird. And at Leisure Larry, they do a great job of that, because the hotel has black marble along the walls, which is so spot on. And then you go up into the penthouse. Here's the part where I'm going to leave the marble thing behind and just carry on to the aesthetic of the EGA version. Is awesome. Like you got like the zebra bed and the bear rug, and the panther print on the wall. Like it's all just, man, it really covers the era so well. And it reminds me, honestly, of how nostalgic I am for Police Quest, because when I see this, I think of like Jesse Baines and the end of Police Quest 1, where you go up into the suite and again, basically it's Mark Crow, doing a hotel suite in AGI again. So it's of course like quite similar and in a good way. I mean, it's very different, but it also feels really good.
Well, it's the art, it's the cityscape, and it's like that modern art concept, right? You can see it in the photos. It's this very nice, like my mom loves the look. She's always been kind of drawn to the 80s idea of art and the colors and the boldness. And it's like if you could call nowadays contemporary, you could call this time period executive, really.
Right. Yeah, that does work. That it really does. Yeah. It even covers like a lot of the feminine portraits where like it'd be like a girl with like a short bowy haircut and like hard lines and yeah, thick makeup and just it does have that vibe to it. Okay, so this is where you basically go out, you hook up, you end up hooking up with Eve. I don't know how to draw this out into a big thing. It's just I feel like we should because it's the ending, but like it's not. There's not a lot here. You find your way to Eve. The sex doll thing is kind of ridiculous.
In all the versions. Actually, the screensaver on my tablet is the sex doll as it flies off, as it's being deflated in the thing, as it's rising up and goes off. They do a really good job with that.
Yeah, it's a very, very odd, silly puzzle in a sense. Like, yeah, that one was the most forced in the game, I guess you could say. Like it almost felt like they're just like, we really want a sex doll in this game, and this is, I guess, how we're doing.
Go follow it outside.
And last thing I want to say about the sex doll is that the sex doll in the VGA remake is just nightmare fuel, horrifying looking. The face, it looks like when a serial killer is wearing somebody else's face, kind of face. It's very scary looking.
It's bad. They did actually, the sex doll in the reloaded version was the most beautiful of all three. They did a really great job at it because I've been staring at it as my screensaver for like 2 years on my tablet. It is good. It is very good.
Yeah. It's definitely the most fuckable or the best looking sex.
It is definitely the best looking out of all of them. Okay, fun fact, before you finish the rest of the game, there was actually, we've heard about Carlos Escobar. I think we've read about it in the Sierra book, various other places, but he did a lot of the programming with Al, and Al considered him like kind of a sidekick. And they made an in-house game at Sierra called Carlos Says because they all said he was so funny. And they put it like as a batch file that ran in our auto exec batch file. So all that would happen is they'd get this like random quote from Carlos every time they started up the computer. So it's kind of like, you know, how Adventure Game Interpreter does that. Every time you start it, it'll say something funny like fun in 16 colors, except it would be something like, I like you just as much today as I did yesterday. Or as long as your code has lots of white space and comments, who cares if it works? That's how they'd start their day up.
Okay. Yes, I get it. Yes. Like AGS does. When you open up AGS, it's got okay.
That's the one. Yeah. Okay, now you can carry on with the story. This floaty doll, it flies outside because that's how you know to go outside and can, obviously.
Right, exactly. And then you go into the hot tub. If you're playing EGA version, it's Eve looks like kind of like Zoe Deschanel. Thank you. Man, it always gives me like a little stroke trying to say her name.
Trillian in the remake of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and so quirky, adorable.
Right, she's in a Jim Carrey movie that I liked. Yes, Man, probably.
Yeah.
And because he's like, I never got to go to a ball. I love that line. And then in the remake, that's where Eve is a beautiful black woman, as she's quoted to be. Shows some nips, and I mean, it basically, you accidentally get lucky because she thinks that you're wearing a leisure suit because you're being yourself and you don't care what other people think, which I thought was brilliant. It's actually pretty clever because it's. Mm-hmm. It seems, from my experience, it seems pretty spot on as far as the psychology of women, like, represent. Sorry, my child's running around the house yelling, help me. It took me the second help me to realize that it's the playful help me and not the, help me. Yeah.
Which kind of help me is that? Okay.
Exactly.
Carry on.
But it seems like, it fits. It just works because women are definitely drawn to, I'm speaking for women, even though I'm talking to a woman who could just say it instead. But it seems like, they appreciate the self-confidence and the not give a fuckery. And then it also fits Larry because he doesn't know he's like tragically out of touch with everything that's going on, but he does catch on quick and rolls with the punches and gets laid for it. Mm-hmm. The other thing that's weird is that there's you give Eve an apple, And that's kind of what triggers the you getting laid thing.
Mhm.
Like that's on the adventure game side of things, that's the thing you do to forward the progression of the stories. You give her an apple, and I don't know, it's just kind of weird the game ends on a biblical reference.
Mhm. I think that's meant to be like extra hot, maybe.
Right. I mean, the way they describe her eating the apple is actually, it's not bad. It's like, it's really good descriptive work done there, because like the way a woman would, like, you know, I want to say daintily. I know that can't be a word, but yeah. Anyway, sorry. What's your
And then,
again? Go ahead.
And then in the remake, you've got after you finally get what you want and you get your fireworks, you get this kind of like fourth wall breaking ending where Ken Williams comes out and has this whole conversation about games and stuff. And it's pretty good. They don't do that in the first one.
Right. The first one's just like, congratulations, you've done it, got laid, emerged victorious. But yeah, I like the Ken pitch. It fits the world of Larry. It fits the whole vibe of the game. And
it does.
He's like, you know, you'd think I'm better than pitching my games at the end, but you'd be wrong. And yeah, that was cute.
Fun fact, there's a dog that pees on you at various times throughout the game, and it is the same dog that Eve owns at the beginning of the next Leisure Suit Larry game.
Oh, very cute. Okay, that's cool. Another fun fact, there's a time limit to Leisure Suit Larry EGA.
Much like Quest for Glory 2 has a time limit. There's a few of them out there that have a time limit, right? What's another one before you reveal your reveal here?
Unclear.
Can you think of?
I mean, there's a lot of timed events in Larabout too, but as far as like a game-wide time limit, I don't know.
Interesting. Because, yeah, Quest for Glory 2, Trial by Fire, if you take too long or at the wrong time, the whole world ends, Zavuzel takes over, nothing's good.
That's interesting. I mean, obviously King's Quest 3, but again, those are like little integer, like they reset on different tasks. But yeah, a game long.
Oh, Rosella. King's Quest 4 has an internal time clock.
Right. Isn't that broken up by the day and night thing, though?
It is, but time will keep progressing, though. Like it's not guided only by events and circumstance. It's also guided by the amount of time spent.
That's fair. That's fair. That fits.
So yes, go on about it. Now that I had to nerd it up a little there.
No, I appreciate it. Yes,
appreciate a good nerding.
I really do. It's just Larry's weird for having a time limit, because the game doesn't really call for it at all. In the sense of like, why would any of this be timed? But I guess the idea is, see, the game doesn't really communicate to you that you're supposed to get laid before the sun rises. Maybe that's what's a little bit strange about it. Because if you don't get laid by the time the sun rises, or 7 hours later, I think you can extend that to 8 by doing something with the prostitute. I don't remember. The prostitute kind of muddies it up too, as far as my ability to report on it. But let's just say you didn't sleep with the prostitute, because you don't have to. If you don't get laid by sunrise, then Larry shoots himself in the face. So yeah, really dark. Just oddly, really dramatic shift in tone, where if the sun rises and you haven't gotten laid, basically when the 7 hours is up, a little display box pops up on the screen and calls you a virgin. And then it cuts to Larry holding a gun to his head, and he does the deed with a antagonistically smiling sunshine in the background.
It is. And it is due to his depression. Like they talk about that. He commits suicide in despair. It's on the wiki page. Like this is just, and a lot of people are like, I've never seen that. I've never seen that happen. And I didn't even see it happen when I played it as a kid. I never took long enough to see that happen. So when I saw that screenshot, like many years later, posted online, I'm like, well, where's that from? Did somebody just make that? And it's like, holy shit. No, it's actually in the game. Yeah. Could you imagine you're a kid and you're playing the game and you take so long? The guy kills himself. That's crazy, man.
Wildly dark, yeah, exactly. Especially from a former teacher like Al, my guy. I love it. I do. I really do. I think it's amazing, because it's like, it's hard to. God, it's got to be hard to. I'm hesitating on whether or not I wanted to like pedal that back, because I realized that I'm talking about kind of a deeper subject there with the whole thing, but there's no need to address it that way. In the light world of Leisure Suit Larry, I appreciate it on a coding side, because it's like, it's the perfect amount of time, in the fact that most people never saw this. Even without a walkthrough, I guess it's hard to spend 7 hours playing Leisure Suit Larry, and 7 hours is also the amount of time it would probably take for the sun to rise. If you got dropped off at a convenience store in Las Vegas at the beginning of the game, you'd figure the sun would be you'd probably have about 7 hours before the sun rises. So it all just kind of fits perfectly. And the fact that not, most people didn't see it as opposed to most people did. I mean, it was all played out pretty well.
Well, it was patched out of some of the other AGI versions too.
I bet.
I think it was taken out. It was not redone in the remake either. Or it wasn't put in the remake either or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, to which fair enough and all that, because whatever. But all right, anyway.
Okay, never mind. You know what? I was saying that, but now I'm just taking a second to look it up because I'm talking out my ass. It looks like they found a way to keep track of time in the VGA, and the suicide is still there, but I haven't seen proof of it. I don't think so. I think they're lying. I don't even know why I looked that up. It takes 8 real game hours in Leisure Suit Larry VGA, and it does happen. So you know what? Does anybody who's listening know? Is that scene in the second one? Feel free to write in and tell us. I actually don't know.
Yeah, because all I've got to add to this basically is I know in VGA I'm looking at a screenshot that says you've only just begun. You've been playing this game for 8 hours. Oh wait, that's minutes. Never mind. Never mind on this whole thing. But if I guess for the sake of finishing any sort of coherent thought, if you stand there for 8 minutes and 33 seconds without doing anything, the game will call you out and tell you to get moving. But yeah, I don't see any proof of it happening. So yeah, that's a good question for listeners. If you have seen the offing in the VGA one, let us bloody know. It's a weird dark request, but here we are.
Oh, okay. So the game starts around 10 p.m. and it goes one night. When you take too long, it'll be a day when that happens. Larry will shoot himself. In the original version, you can force this death by pressing Alt-0 and then type the command TP and room number 19, as long as you're not playing it in ScumVM. Huh.
Speaking of which, I just learned today in prep for this that you can skip in the EGA version, you can skip the age check in the beginning by doing Alt-X.
Yeah, I didn't even know that until I heard Al Lowe say it. It might even have been our interview. I'm not sure. But I was like, really? I put that much work in, made a whole freaking chart, and that's all I had to do. But like, as we've learned too, they put all these little codes and all these things. Like you do the same. You're making a game. You're like, oh, when you're in this scene, click here to just quickly bypass this scene, or just hit escape to bypass this because we've already read it a bunch of times. And you want to do those. And in some of the games, like for example, Christy Marks in Conquest of the Longbow, she wasn't really big into going through a lot of the Jane Jensen was kind of like that too. When going through the games and it was really long scenes and it took a long time, there had to be shortcuts or way to skip things or ways to jump around the game. And a lot of that stuff was just left in when the game was released.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I can see that too, because like I've got a few, as you know, in the game where it's like if you click on this tiny little part of the fence, you can you don't have to walk to the exit and click on the thing. And I think part of the reason I made it so obscure is just in case I forget to take it out. It's like just in case you fuck this up and leave it in. That's like almost nobody's ever going to click on that one tiny little spot with this exact cursor and blah blah blah. So it all checks out. Okay, well, before we wrap the show, what are our conclusions on AGI versus SCI? And I'm sorry to listeners, we never really can decide how we're going to frame it. I think we've been doing EGA, VGA, so we'll stick with that. So, what are your kind of pros and cons and yeah, I don't know, closing thoughts on specifically the comparison aspect?
The first one was my first, so nostalgically, I always like to go back to it. But there's this like funky, fun vibe that's like neither of them are serious, but it's somehow just slightly more lighthearted and almost whimsical in the second one. It was like the first one when they were earnest and they really had to make their game and make the point. And the second one was a bunch of them sitting in a room messing around. And it kind of was because you're remaking it. You're like, oh, can you make her sexier? Can you make the wall funnier? Can you make the carpet like leaves that intermingle? And they had so many more options of choice with graphics and storyline and in that way that they could go with it that, I could never pick the remake over the original, but at the same time, I could never diss it. I would earnestly and honestly say, if you want to do the typing, do the first one. But if you want to do the pointy clicky, do the second one. And you're at no real loss if you do it that way.
Okay. I like that. That's I'm really glad you went first. That helped me figure out what I was going to say. Okay. if you've never played either before, I would play 1 for the art, but that's assuming that you appreciate EGA, which I think most of our listeners do, right? Because just the era and things like that, we just have like a certain nostalgia for low resolution EGA graphics, because it's just bloody fun to look at. Like I think the remake is really cool, and I think the art is exceptional. But you'll never there's just no competing with EGA when it comes to people like us who grew up with it. So if you've never played either, I would say visually speaking, play the original. Otherwise, play the remake, and it's for a few reasons. The biggest reason is the similarity that it has to what I said in the Police Quest episode, which is it's easier to explore, and there's so much to see and hear. Well, there's so much to yeah, okay. I'm being pedantic with myself. There's so much to see in here, right? You're not going to uncover, literally new visuals, but I mean, see, I guess, is in text to read. But there's so many lines, and I still to this day I don't know what isn't in the original, because it's hard to. It takes, I guess, an amount of energy and creativity in a parser game to even think of what to tell it when it comes to exploring an environment. Like if you can think of all the different things that Larry might do in that room and type it, then awesome. And the reward is probably greater for the cost. But that being said, like in the VGA remake where you've got the zipper icon and the lick icon and then the interact and then the look and then the talk to, there's so many awesome lines out there. And Allo is funnier than I think I ever give him credit for. Some of his stuff is just almost shockingly funny. I guess I'm saying shockingly in a sense of how it holds up, because I don't know. I might have unwisely categorized him as just like outdated dick joke guy or something, and it's just not the case. Like some of his stuff is very funny and very irreverent, and I really like it. And then that being said, he's also backed up by Josh Mandel, who they would go on to do Freddy Farkas together. And Josh Mandel, I don't know. He's credited with witty text and documentation. So I don't really know how much of said witty text was Josh, but Josh is a really funny dude, and there's some really funny things in this game. A good example of something that's probably Josh Mandel that's not in the game, but it's in the game's credits, is they're giving musical credits, and it says, theme song by Al Lowe, and then some tunes are written by dead guys, and you know who you are. And I don't know, that could really be either of the two, but back to my main point, would be the VGA version is easier to explore, and I'm sorry, goddamn. So the last thing I want to do to listeners is confuse you guys with what I'm trying to point you towards. But the VGA version, the remake, is easier to explore, and it encapsulates everything about adventure games that I love and all the things about adventure games that I'd like to see more of, which is less. You can only. It's kind of the opposite, I guess you could say, of the way modern games have gone, where it's like you click on the thing and the game decides what you've done. The game decides, like you click on a character in some games and the game will be like, well, because you clicked on the character, that means you talk, or that means you hit them. Or that means, the game kind of decides what you do because we've oversimplified it to just one click. So that the game decides what your one click does. Whereas this is the opposite of that, where it's like you can lick the person, touch the person, talk to the person, look at the person. And in modern adventure games defense, something that I'm guilty of not really realizing is that what I'm explaining and what I really like, it fits comedies the best. So maybe that's why I think it was the way to go for my game, and why I think it's a great thing for Leisure Suit Larry, because it fits comedies the best. Comedy is where you want to get more lines. You want more. If the writing's good and if it's actually funny, then you do want more. You do want to find out what happens if you touch them versus if you look at them. Whereas maybe in a game that's not a comedy, you might not want that, and that's kind of fair enough. But when it comes to Larry and when it comes to Space Quest or anything that's trying to make you laugh, I think you want like a large tool belt. You want all the different options available, and this captures the spirit of exploration, which is at the heart of an adventure, and that's to be able to walk around and click on all the things and get rewarded for doing so. The end.
Hear, hear. Well said.
Look at that.
That's really good. That's really good. I like that, and I liked all of them. I think they were all three, including Reloaded, are worth playing. Maybe not all in one day, like Paul.
Yeah, don't do that, please.
But definitely, I mean, they're funny. They're all funny. They all have a lot of writing. They all have so many lines in them that had to be written. And Jan Rabson does a great job as Larry in Reloaded. R.I.P.
Yeah.
I absolutely love him as Larry. I can't imagine Larry having any other voice other than that.
Maybe Bill Gates.
Was what was in your mind? You're like, well, I'm thinking as an alternative, Bill Gates would kind of that'd be the one, huh?
And that's actually inspired by Jan, just because Jan gives him that I don't know. Like, sorry, Bill, but like your balls are in a rubber band kind of voice, where it's just like it's just Bill Gates's voice is it's almost doesn't seem real. It's just like it's like when you watch that Windows 95 video where he's out on stage dancing. It's like he's like almost a caricature of a man. It's like, my God, Bill. It's just the nerdiest shit. I mean, I don't think he can hear me insulting him through the billions of dollars that he has. It's fine. It's just a victimless crime.
Entirely.
My God. That new Windows is, a garbage operating system, and of which he stole most of it anyway. So there you go. Fuck you guys. Might as well go all in. I'm just saying. Okay.
Yeah, Microsoft just. Oh, right. That's not even. They just fired a whole bunch of people, and they were from the Activision division, like a huge amount of people too. I'm like, what's going to happen to our games?
Yeah, right. As long as I'd hate for them to suddenly, not give them any attention or love, as they already aren't. Like, what was I going to say though? Because you brought up another good point about the Jan thing. The lines, it's gone. Doesn't matter. I won't force it.
It's all right. Josh Mandel did narrating, right? I think there was just the Reloaded had some great people in there. It was a big project. I have the T-shirt, thanks to Roberta from the Reloaded campaign, that is covered in Leisure Suit Larry chest hair, and I have a signed bottle. Yeah, real chest hair. They glued it on from the devs.
I got nervous when you said your shirt was covered in something.
Very nice.
Semen, guys. That's the joke. Semen.
Yeah.
So
yeah, long and hard and full of semen. And then I also got
what's the word for egg whites again?
Albumin.
Yeah, it's covered in albumin. Because we, as a society, we're too pretentious to call it egg whites, so we call it the Latin word for white. Whatever. Anyway, semen has the same amount of protein as an egg white. We did a lot of research for this episode.
We did. We really had to look into things. But yeah, I also have the sealed box for the Leisure Suit Larry Reloaded, and it's signed. So and I have Leisure Suit Larry 1, because I got to throw the flex with the napkin, thanks to David Bitten. Thank you, David. So that's cool.
Awesome. It's Reloaded is available on iOS and Android as well. So if you're not sure which of the three to play, I would say if you play on tablets or phones, then play Reloaded. But as we've said on the show a lot recently, I'm not sure anybody really plays adventure games on phones. But I guess tablets, that's definitely a thing and an option. So, and also to our listeners, Scum VM is now available on iOS, so that's awesome. And also to our listeners, I'm so excited! I'm remembering this. Our dear friend Cosmic Void, his game Twilight Oracle is coming out today. You're listening to this on Tuesday, and his game literally is released today. It's called Twilight Oracle. Speaking of comedies, it's a comedy. Aviv is one of the best artists out there as far as pixel art is concerned, which is the only art as far as I'm concerned. I absolutely adore his work. The one thing I love about Cosmic's art is that you can always tell it's his. Like, I'm almost envious of his fingerprint, that he's just so good at, I don't know. A lot of it's, I think, his palette choices. But anyway. Cosmic Void's game's out. It's called Twilight Oracle. It's available on Steam. It just came out today. Please go check it out. And, that's it. That's all I got.
That's it. Well, I want to take
Sorry.
It's good. No, that was, should I let you restart and do the whole thing?
No, please don't.
Something you want to do?
Yeah,
Okay.
please don't make me.
We're fine. I want to take a minute to say thank you to all our Patreoners. They really help make these episodes possible at all levels. And without you guys, we wouldn't even know that people were listening, except for the lovely emails we get sometimes, and mostly from the people that are our Patreoners as well. Makes sense. You're invested. We appreciate it. We read everything that's out there. I want to give an extra special thanks to the tier we have yet not renamed, to Tim Ellis, Michael Council, and Brian Manown. It's really appreciated. Everybody else here is also really appreciated. What's up?
Brian, thank you so much for having my back on Steam. You wrote some people back for me, and you're like, dude, he's working on it. Thank you so much for having my back on that. Steam doesn't give us notifications, So that's a lesson learned. I need to keep an eye on that. But Brian, thank you so much for having our back. And since I've already kind of interjected, I'm going to say too to check out our friend Daniel Albu's new channel, Tech Talks with Daniel. To our listeners, he's Daniel's of Conversations with Curtis, and he's got a new YouTube channel. Again, it's called Tech Talk with Daniel. So check that out. Give him a sub, because he's just bloody. I love him, and he deserves it.
100%. Yeah. And everybody else on the Hotspot network, because they have new videos coming out all the time. And we're going to link every single one of them below this episode, because it's really important what everybody's doing, what everybody's keeping up with, and really appreciate having that network out there so that we can all kind of see what's going on and prepare for future journeys and all sorts of things that we're going to be doing for the network. But hey, about us, if you guys want to get a hold of us, you can write us an email first off. That's always nice. Gosh, it's like the most exciting thing to get that little ping. It's like, oh, an email to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast that isn't, hey, do you want to get thousands of subscribers for your podcast? Write me back. Because that's mostly what we get is spam for podcast spam. And every time I do something else or put it somewhere else, you think you get something new, it's more spam. So every time we get an email rolling through, it's really a dopamine hit for sure that can last the day. So outside of that, you can just give us a tweet, Anna or Paul at either or CGG Podcast or the Phantom Fellows, because we're all out there and you can find us out there. You can also hit us up on our Facebook page. ClassicGamersGuild.com is just like our Classic Gamers Guild Facebook page, but otherwise just go to like Classic Gamers Guild podcast on Facebook. Look, the point is, talk to your Google speaker if you want. We're on Instagram, we're on YouTube. Ask any advice to play us, even if you're on Apple. Yell it into the room and it'll just start broadcasting out of the atmosphere. We're literally everywhere. Super easy to find.
Yes, exactly. And also, I'm going to link below some information about the Adventure Game Hotspot Fanfare Convention that's going on this summer at the end of July. Please consider coming to join us. It's going to be an awesome time. Everybody from the network's going to be there. Anna and I are going to be there. The Sierra alumni is having a reunion there. So, I mean, it's just, if this is your thing, and it probably is because you're listening to us, then try and get out there if you possibly can, because it's going to be awesome. Don't do a murder.
There we go. SCI. Okay, there we go. These are real notes. I found them. Don't mind the noise. Sometimes I feel so nerdy. This is ridiculous. Okay.
You sound nerdy right now.
I know. I feel it. I feel me sounding it.
Well, let me look through my notes here. Not these ones. Oh, God.
Oh, God.